see if everything's working. Seems like everything is working just fine. It is 5:36 a.m. I am going to make myself a cup of coffee and we're going to have a chat about health and fitness as I do so. I also bought new coffee mugs, so I'm going to very happily use those, even though I am out of, let's see, volume here. Sorry about the noise. A nice and yellow new cup that I'm going to drink my coffee out of today. Quite happy with that. What else do I need? I need a glass of water because I need to hydrate early in the morning. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 40 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. And I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, showing up for exercise, spending time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and generally living a stress-free life. And I'm wearing a t-shirt today because we're going to talk about this. And you can see that despite all of my training, this is what I look like. And I think it's important to remind everyone why I'm training and why I think showing up like this, not your average fitness influencer, is important. And it's important for different reasons. So let's go back to the top as we start to talk about health and fitness this morning before I go out on a morning walk. Because I do think managing this is important, but it's got nothing to do with the way I look. So I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life at 41. I do so by trying to sleep around 7 to 9 hours. Last night was 7.5 hours, great. The night before was 5.5 hours, not so great. But sleep is key, and we've talked about this. Sleep is key in staying healthy and maintaining health over time, especially if we're going to live to be older. I mind what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, which is around 2200 calories. I try to eat a lot of vegetables. I'll put up something about that this week again, I'm sure. I'm not vegan or vegetarian, not at all, but I do understand and know that more vegetables is generally more better for health. So I try to include and incorporate enough of those in my diet, and enough of those probably means between 300 and 500 grams, if not more, of vegetables in a day. All right, and I try to hit my protein goals, but I'm still working on deciding what my protein goal should be, but we'll figure that out over time, and I'll dedicate some more time to that specifically when I have figured that out. Nolan Maxwell, without a doubt, I think she's very happily married. But thanks for dropping by and saying hi, Nolan. I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world, and I hope you're having a good start of the day. It's 5:40 a.m. and I'm going to go out for a walk in about 15-20 minutes. But we're going to have a conversation about waist size, and specifically why that is something that we need to be aware of. And also, looking at me, you can see that waist size is important, but it's not the panacea that everyone speaks about, and it's also not something that I am particularly mindful of beyond this. Okay, I think this is pretty normal and okay, and we're going to talk about why I think that, and why I think at a certain point other things are more important. Nolan, what diet do I follow? The diet that I follow, very quickly talking about that, is the normal everyday diet. I have a video on this on my channel to explain my logic to you. I'm mindful of my calories in, calories out. I'm mindful of my macronutrient distribution, and I'm mindful that in the mix of everything, even though I don't measure that specifically, there should be enough foods that will provide me with sufficient micronutrients to help me function well. So I'm also concerned with things like eating kimchi or sauerkraut or other ferment foods, things like that. Eating sufficient fish for omega-3 fatty acids, etc., EPA, DHA, right? But within that, there's a lot of variation of what I can eat. That being said, there seems to be a lot of regularity in what I have for breakfast and for dinner. Lunch usually varies more because I'm outdoors, I'm at the office or with customers, clients, working. So there's a lot more variety there, but even there I tend to go for healthier options and usually eat more greens than anything else. So I hope that helps and paints a picture there. And yes, I am in Europe. The Warrior, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well. Don't know what that means exactly, but no, I don't eat Taco Bell. Geese, good morning. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you're doing well where you are in the world. It's good to see you this morning, and I hope life is treating you well. And Nolan, I do eat meat. I don't eat pork. I eat white fish, eat salmon, tuna. The meat that I buy from small quantities from very reliable butchers that or places that I know sell meat where the animals have had a good life, so to speak, as they claim. So there you have it. Hope, thanks for dropping by. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Todo bien? I hope you're doing all right. And I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi. Occasionally, all of them, and less soda over time. I used to be a large soda drinker. That's funny because I drank a lot of soda, but I was also a lot larger at the time. It's an unexpected play on words, I guess. Occasionally and with moderation, so there might be a glass of wine with dinner or while cooking once in a while. There might be on a hot day or when we're out somewhere and there's an occasion to have a drink, but it's not a regular part of my diet. Most of my hydration comes from water, and I drink coffee, tea, and that's more or less it. Those are a lot of good questions when it comes to food and nutrition, so I appreciate you asking that. Yeah, you know, when I was in Texas, actually, it was one of the treats also because it was so hot. We would go to the Walmart, which was an hour's drive. So in Holland, an hour's drive, you're out of the country. In Texas, an hour's drive is to the supermarket. As a teenager, it left a huge impression on me. We got to pick 6 packs of soda for the week. So I would get a pack of soda to drink, and those were like little half a liter or 0.6 liter bottles or 1 liter bottles even they had of Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, etc. And I think there's nothing wrong with having one of those occasionally, even though the amount of sugar does a lot of things to your body in that moment. But if you drip that once in a while, like once a month, it's going to be fine. If you have one every day in the mix of a diet that is already not following the principles I outlined before, that might start becoming problematic over time. The food itself is never really the issue. It's the total quantity of food and the composition of that food repeated over time. And I'm not talking about 1 month, even though you'll start to notice the difference after about 48 hours, but 1 month. But a year, 2 years, 10 years is where you start to see bigger and bigger challenges for health, fitness, and well-being. So just keep that in mind. And not having had soda over a year is quite an achievement. Well done. Thanks for showing people that it actually can be done. Thoughts on electrolyte drinks? And Bilbao, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well where you are in the world, and I hope you're having a good start of the day, and that the day is going to treat you well. This is a Thursday, I believe. What a good day to just be around here to talk about health and fitness and to be able to go out on a walk. I have no strong opinion on electrolyte drinks. I think we need to hydrate. I think we need to eat well. I think they may have some function in staying hydrated when you're sporting at a high intensity. There's a lot of debate about them online, I think. It's a good way for some people to make money, but I'm not. I don't drink them, let me put it this way, I don't drink them after a heavy training bout here, but on a hot day, if I do some training, I might stack some in the fridge and just start off just maybe to get that extra benefit, because I don't want to run the risk of dehydrating and running out of energy on a day where I work out and it's going to be super hot. We're talking about 25, 30 degrees. But generally, I mean, I don't think they're harmful. I don't think they're super beneficial in my lifestyle and training. How's my back? My back's doing great. A lot better, actually. There are still certain small movements that cause me some discomfort and slight pain, but it's getting less and less. I was able to put on my socks, so for example, I was able to lift up my leg and do things, but I can feel that slightly in the muscles and the structure still. But it's just a slight discomfort. It's just my body telling me that that I am not completely recovered. But I can squat down, I can sit on my knees, I can play on the floor, can bend over to pick something up or tie my shoelaces without pain. So overall recovery is going as expected, and probably somewhere next week I'll start picking up light weights again, and just going through the motions, not putting too much of a load on my body, but just to see how it responds to the stimulus. Geese, thanks for asking. Nolan Maxwell, Mediterranean diet, not necessarily, although I do like olive oil, and I think it's an important part of the diet. And generally staying within my energy balance and trying to hit a good distribution of macros. Like I said, I am, for muscle growth, I was aiming for 120 to 150 grams protein intake. I've understood that for longevity, which are two separate goals, right? Muscle growth, longevity, though they're somewhat related, optimal protein intake is a lot lower, and I'm trying to figure out what the balance is that I want to strike in that to make sure that I stay as healthy as long as I can. So I hope that answers your question. Jordan is great and good. I have no idea. I don't use it. I've considered using it. I've always come to the conclusion that no, I don't want to and I don't need it. But I know people that do. People say it's absolutely safe. That's what all the research says, as far as I can tell, not only from watching YouTube videos, but also from what I've read in other sources. But it seems to work. But I don't have any personal experience with that. That's as honest an answer as I can give you about that. And someone whose name I cannot pronounce. What's my caloric intake per day? So my caloric intake per day is somewhere around 2200 calories. I track in an app. I target up until around 2000 calories in measurement, but I don't mind if it is 21 to 2200. Anything over, I know I'm going above what my maintenance is likely going to be. So I try to keep it. On a super heavy training day, I also don't mind going up to 2400, give myself that little extra buffer in terms of calories, usually through proteins and carbs. But that is because specifically then on Wednesdays, usually that would be, it's because I'm also trying to stimulate muscle growth and muscle building. Generally, I'm just trying to stay the way I am, which is more or less like this. And it doesn't take a lot over an extended period of time to actually, for me to increase in size. And you can see I have a little bit of fat here around my waist. I'm all right with that. I'm on the higher spectrum of body fat, but still within what people would consider, or what doctors would consider a normal BMI, right? I'm a keep it real. I think we should all be keeping it real. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi, and I hope you're doing. I hope you're doing well where you are in the world. And I cannot pronounce your name, but you are welcome. I appreciate the question and the compliment. Thank you. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. The whole reason why I'm doing all of these things, it's got nothing to do with the way I look. I have been in a place where it was about the way I look when I was a teenager, in my 20s, even in my early 30s. I went from 101 kilos to 17, lightest I was 77.5 kilos right before we got married. So I lost about 22, 23 kilos over a period of a year and a half. And it was also very necessary to lose a lot of those kilos. I think the last 5 kilos maybe weren't as necessary as the first 15, to put it into perspective. And let's talk about why that is, because waist size is important, but I'll caveat this by saying that there are people who are overweight, who are fit, who do not seem to be suffering from the same kind of health detriments that overweight people who are not fit suffer from. So in the balance, it can be that you have a higher BMI, and we're going to talk about relationship BMI and waist circumference in a moment. You might have a slightly higher BMI, but because you exercise, because you are active in your lifestyle, because you're using energy in building muscle, have more muscle mass or lean mass, because you're eating well, good foods, so all of the systems are working fine as they are intended, you're not suffering from the drawbacks that someone who is overweight and inactive might suffer from. So there is some indication to say, well, it's not just the weight or being overweight, but it's a combination of the frame weight, BMI, waist circumference, and activity levels or overall measurable fitness that become predictors of health outcomes. So why would we be interested in waist size? Why is it that when I look in the mirror and I see this, I think, oh my God, I need to do something. No, I don't. I think, oh, okay, it's still there. It's good. If I ever have to go a day or two without food, I think I'm going to be just fine. Not worried about a thing. Because waist size is a signal of fat storage. This is one that we need to remember. They sure do. Like I said, there are a lot of aspects to this challenge and understanding this challenge. And we're talking specifically now about waist size and why it can be used as an indicator of our general health. It is not the indicator. It's not necessarily an indicator of good or poor health, but it is just something to be aware of in the in the overall picture we're trying to create of ourselves. And that's why I think it's also important for me to come out here and look normal, so that you understand that when you see a lot of fitness influencers who are very lean, ripped, that is not necessarily a marker of good health either, even though it does show that fat storage is very well under control. So waist size, indication of fat storage. We're talking about abdominal fat, and abdominal fat is also an indicator of the presence of visceral fat. We've talked about this before, but just to highlight, right, visceral fat is the fat that collates and collects around your organs, and if you have too much of that, well, you start to develop unhealthy indicators, sometimes diseases, because of low-grade inflammation and the disruption of the function of the organs in the system that keeps the organs healthy because of that. So storing excess amounts of abdominal fat increases health risks that are not present when that fat is not present. I was 145 kilo, I'm 180 kilo, plus 48, which means 109. Well, there you go. It sounds like you took great control of your diet and your health, and it's paying off. And I think that is an impressive result, to have lost nearly 40 kilos. I know how hard it is to have to work for that, and then also have to work to keep it off, because of different factors that want us to regain certain amounts of weight once we lose them, right? So abdominal fat, visceral fat is just an indication of that health risk. And one of the things that might rise as we put on that excess weight is insulin resistance. And insulin resistance, basically is our body's ability to manage blood glucose levels, right? And that becomes a problem because that kind of sets the stage for a metabolic syndrome, diabetes type 2, etc., etc. So if excess fat storage is related to visceral fat, increased inflammation, which might potentially damage our bodies, insulin resistance, it does become somewhat predictive, our waist circumference, of our health, more so than BMI alone, right? If you're 2 meters tall and relatively lean and weigh a certain amount, your BMI might be more than what would be expected for a healthy person, but you are actually a healthy person. The BMI measurement does not really work, but if you have a high BMI and you're short, you have an expanding waist circumference, it could be that it is a good indicator of where your health is going, how your health is developing. Not necessarily, but it could be for all the reasons mentioned above, right? So the waist circumference really is also a biomarker for metabolic syndrome, right? And that is why being aware of that and trying to establish a routine, a lifestyle that stops that waistline from expanding, and in some cases reducing it, but in some cases just keeping it as is, like I said at the top. And as someone pointed out in chat, genetics might play a role in this as well, is that you could be slightly overweight but still be very fit and healthy and suffer none of these adverse effects. But if the waistline keeps expanding, it means more and more fat is being stored in the body, and that might bring with it the increased risks to our health and well-being. I hope this is making sense right now. I hit 95 days last week. Jake, thanks for sharing your videos. Hi Energy, thanks for dropping by again. I hope you're doing well, and I hope life is treating you well, that you're having a good start of the day. And I appreciate you coming by and letting me know this. So from this, right, if we understand this, then we understand why I make such a point out of focusing on my sleep, because sleep helps regulate all of these hormones, including insulin. It also helps me manage my appetite. Good sleep, good weight regulation. Why I mind what I eat, because the foundation of weight management is not exercise, it's nutrition. Right? It's how much am I eating versus how much am I using in a day, and bringing that into balance. And for someone like me, I've said this before, who likes to eat and who likes to eat junk, I have a huge sweet tooth. You can put a huge bar of chocolate in front of me, and even at the point where I think I'm probably had enough or I feel kind of full, I will eat, and I'm not talking about small bars, I will eat the full tablet of chocolate, all right? And I'll feel really bad afterwards. No, I won't. But that, I just know that that happens, and it took me 30 years into my life to figure out that, hey, maybe there is a bit of an issue there. I figured this out only at 33 when I started to take my weight seriously, trying to get from 101 back to a healthy weight. And my waist circumference had expanded, less the woman who's now my wife for loving me through every stage of my life in that phase. So just keep that in mind, right? So it's food that is the key tool we have for managing that waist circumference, and then it's the exercise we do that keeps us fit. They all work together to create this overall sense of health and well-being. And I always say that I try to spend time with people I love and care about, because for my goals, which are related to living longer, healthier and happier, the social environment, the relationships we keep and maintain, the people we care about, the communities we invest in, play an important part in keeping us happy, healthy and active through life as well. So it's those four things that we need to be mindful of when we talk about being healthy and fit. All right. So waist size, waist circumference. As you can see, I'm not your average creator or influencer. I don't think, overweight. I'm also not lean or ripped. I am normal, average. I think most people would be like this. But the main point here is, this is not about the way I look, this is about the way I feel, and should be about the way you feel for you as well. If you are demonstrably fit, but slightly overweight, and you get all your health markers checked, and they're working fine, is there a problem? Maybe not, right? Because that means that we are healthy. But if you've never gotten yourself checked, and you see these kinds of, you see your waist slowly expanding, you see more fat tissue build up in your body, be aware of the potential risks that carries, and look at the levers we have to kind of manage that. Our sleep, our nutrition, how much we move, not even just exercise, but how much we move, and how fulfilled we are in our social relationship lives. That's all I have for you today. Fit and healthy, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I also feel fit and healthy, and I also think that this is what normal probably more or less looks like, but normal is different for everyone. I also feel the best when I'm in this shape. I notice immediately that I start to feel worse when I get a bit bigger, and then I start to feel worse when I get too lean as well. So there seems to be a good balance for my body to be functioning well. And I think we all need to figure out where that is. Thanks for dropping by and watching, friends. And for those of you who are watching, I'll repeat it again. Subscribe to my channel. No, well, yes, but that's not what I wanted to repeat. My name is Toby. I'm 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours, and I talk about why that's important on the stream. I do that by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, which for me is around 2200 calories. I try to eat a lot of vegetables, and I try to eat sufficient protein to support my strength and muscle building and overall health goals. I also show up to do strength training, strength conditioning training, mobility training, spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free life. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I want to feel fit, competent, and capable for whatever life throws at me. So that's something you are interested in, go ahead, check out my channel. We can continue the conversation, and hopefully the trainings again when I recover in about 2 to 3 weeks. Remember that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. And the only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow. And I appreciate all of you dropping by, saying hi, and spending time with me in the chat. It was a nice conversation. Geese, and person whose name I cannot pronounce or read, thank you for dropping by, for saying hi, and for being there. And stay well, everyone. Yes, and remember, friends, subscribe.